He might not be a household name like his snooker-playing namesake, but Crewe Alexandra manager Steve Davis has capitalised on his big break. See what we've done there? Into management with 2 impressive seasons in charge. Promotion to League One in his first year was followed by consolidation last time out, a feat he's aiming to emulate this time around. Now, on my little crib sheet here, Steve, it says, is it a little more difficult this time around? But you have revealed to us just before we brought you up and on air. Where are you? Come on, admit it.
I'm actually buying a bed at Benson's, so I'm allowed to say that on the radio.
Well, I would think you've probably just secured yourself a sizable discount. What is it you're looking for? King size, double, single
Probably
for the spare room, or what are you looking
probably
for?
Probably a bigger one than that. I think probably super king size. I could do with the space, and I've got a bad back, so I'm putting it down to the bed.
Oh, right.
Not the fact that we're carrying every other League One club on top of us.
I thought you meant you were going to bring all those mannequins to bed and start plotting them out across the bedclothes and stuff like that. Well, good luck with the bed finding.
Cheers.
Struggling a little bit this season, would you say? Is that a fair description?
Yes. Yeah, it's been hard. We've had
Why?
We've had a difficult, various reasons. You know, we had the difficulty pre-season with the allegations against us when we went down on a pre-season tour. A few of the lads were involved in that. That really knocked us, I have to say. Very, very difficult to ever put that to one side, if you like.
These were sexual allegations, and I suppose we have an image of Crewe as a family club, so it clearly didn't help in the summer.
No, not at all. It unsettled everybody, because everyone was involved. We were all down there. We were all felt involved with it, and and it was just so happens after it was all lifted and the case was dropped that we began to perform, and performances actually lifted. I think it was a Port Vale game, which we lost, but we played very, very well and battled very hard. So it's taken us a long time. We've had a few injuries to Pogba and people like that. I mean, it always sounds like you're making excuses when you've had a difficult start to the season, and I'm not making any excuses in terms of that. Them things haven't helped us, but we haven't helped ourselves. We haven't had enough players playing well. What we'd had before, previously, in the season before, was people were performing very well and to their level, but that hasn't been the case. We're just now starting, as I say, over the last probably 7 or 8 games, starting to find our form, and we are improving. So it's not too late. It's come at a decent time. We can turn it around, and as I say, we've started to pick up some good results lately.
Steve, I don't want to go into the nitty gritty, but manager's handbook does not contain stuff like some of your players were accused of in the summer. Very serious stuff as well. How do you deal with it? Do you bring it right out in the open? Do you discuss it with everybody to try and lift the cloud? Do you go on an individual by individual basis and chat to people? Can you see that some are suffering from the pressure and strain of it all more than others? How did you deal with it?
All those things that you've mentioned. There was lots of one-to-one. Certainly in terms of man management, I've not had to man manage as much in the period before. It all come out that I actually spoke to the boys more than I spoke to any of the members of the family. I was constantly talking to them as a group and as individuals, and I could see how it was affecting everybody. Because we all, as I say, we were all involved in that. Then you've got to put up with the blame thing, the blame culture and things like that. As players do, they look for excuses for losses of form, and so it was a whole thing, and obviously then keeping it away from the players, keeping them focused was very difficult. Keeping an eye on the situation. We didn't do anything Christmas. They weren't allowed to go out. It's hard to keep spirits up and keep things going and keep the players focused when all that's going on in the background. Until it all went away, it just made things a lot much easier and clearer. As I say, I wouldn't want to go through it again. It's been a very difficult period for me, a real learning curve, and thankfully, we've come through it, and now we're starting to make some progress.
Well, on the footballing side, I suppose the other side of all this is it's not a shoo-in that you will always have a constant flow of new talent as you release the Nick Powells, as you release the Ashley Westwoods. And also, you do have a template to which many other clubs aspire, but you also have to keep refreshing it to keep ahead of the game, don't you?
We have to, Clem, yeah, because we're not always going to have the amounts of academy players coming through year after year. Certainly when you lose your better 3 in 11 months, which is what we did, they take some replacing, and that could take a period of years to get those types through again. And obviously we're relying on some of the ones we've already got in the team to progress to those levels or close to those levels. We have to bring in, and with a view to maybe them, staying with the club in the future, was being able to do some sort of deal with the clubs coming to us. So it's ongoing, really. As I say, it's very hard to replace top-class players. The ones we sold recently have all gone on and done very well, so which is brilliant for us. But it does leave spaces, and it is filling those spaces, which is difficult. We've got some talented kids, but we're in a bit of a transition in terms of when those kids, one of those younger kids, the ones that we regard as being in that Nick Powell class and Wesley class and Murphy class, that it might take a little bit of time for them to come through into the first team, and then they've got to play and improve. So in that time, we've got to try and maintain where we are. I always say that progress for Crewe is survival, and I think that will always be the case. It will always be, the progression will always be surviving, and we do it very well. As I say, we're able to work at a good level year after year, and we've always maintained high standards, and I'm sure that'll be the way in the future.
Is there any succession planning too for Dario Gradi's eventual departure? Those words will be horrible to him because he will want to keep going until he drops. But as a club, he's not getting any younger, and presumably the club off the field has to start looking at that it's been so cast in his image for so many years. It will need to continue when he is no longer able to keep doing it. I'm
not sure we'll ever replace him, to be honest, Clem. His vision was way ahead of his time, and to replace somebody like that sort of figurehead and the sort of person he was around the club, is very, very difficult to replace. We'll do it, but we'll probably do it in a different way. I know that a lot of what he's done has rubbed off on a lot of good people at the football club and a lot of good coaches that we've still got there, and maybe they'll be the people that take that on. Who knows? It might even be myself, but it's a massive thing to fill. And as I say, at the moment, I can't see him ever in that situation. I can't see him ever retiring from what he's doing. One day, I know there will be a time when maybe he has had enough. I don't know when that'll be, because it's certainly not going to happen in the near future. But it will happen. Whether we replace him or not, I doubt. But somebody will come in there and try and move the club forward in a very similar way to what he's done. Whether they'll ever do it as good is unlikely.
I mean, that's interesting because you said it could be you. I mean, because you've obviously had links with jobs away heavily with Wolves in the summer, one of your former clubs, Burnley, previously. So are you still not quite sure whether you want to be a manager and work your way up the ladder that way, or whether you maybe being a full sort of template boss around a whole club might be the way you want to go? It's still in the balance for you, that is it?
I do want to be a manager. I want to manage as high as I possibly can. And I think you'll know that I am ambitious in that respect. But you just don't know. As I say, the precarious job that we're in these days, the uncertainty with jobs is a worry. People can do a good job now and not last very long. It just whether your face fits and all the rest of it. So it's a very difficult place to be, very difficult job to do. I'm talking far ahead of that, director of football, those sort of jobs. At the moment, I'm just focusing on trying to keep the club in League One, and that's a huge challenge for us.
Well, listen, the most pressing issue is what kind of bed we go for. Are you with Mrs. D? Is Mrs. Davis with you? She's looking, is she?
She's actually upstairs lying on them at the moment, so I've just nipped down to the car where it's a bit quieter, and I've left her to it. So.
Oh, right. You don't mind? You don't have a choice, wrought iron bed head or cushioned velour, or nothing for
Clem for me. No, just an ordinary boy from an ordinary place. I'm not anything. We're not looking for anything too fancy. As long as I can get to sleep at night, that's the main thing.
Well, listen. We wish you well for the second half of the season. Good luck with finding that bed. Cheers, mate.
That. Thanks, mate.
The Crewe Alexandra manager, Steve